Hello, happy World Book Day 2021. I'm going to read Mr Tickle. It was a warm, sunny morning. In his small house at the other side of the wood, Mr Tickle was asleep. You didn't know there was such a thing as a tickle, did you? Well, there is. Tickles are small, tickles are round, and they have arms that stretch and stretch and stretch, extraordinarily long arms. Mr Tickle, there he is, look, was fast asleep. He was having a dream. It must have been a very funny dream, because it made him laugh out loud and it woke him up. He sat up in bed, stretched out his extraordinarily long arms and yawned an enormous yawn. Mr Tickle felt hungry, so do you know what he did? He reached out one of his extraordinarily long arms, opened the bedroom door, reached down the stairs, opened the kitchen door, reached into the kitchen cupboard, opened the biscuit tin, took out a biscuit, brought it back upstairs, in through the bedroom door, and back to Mr Tickle in bed. As you can see, it's very useful indeed having long arms like Mr Tickle. Mr Tickle munched his biscuit as he looked out of the window. Today looks very much like a tickling day, he thought. So later that morning, after Mr Tickle had made his bed and cooked his breakfast, he set off through the wood. As he walked along, he kept his eyes very wide open, looking for somebody to tickle. Eventually, he came to a school not too dissimilar to Kingsley St John's. There was nobody about, so reaching up his extraordinarily long arms to a high window ledge, he pulled himself up and peeped in through the open window. Inside, he could see a classroom. There were children sitting at their desks and a teacher, not dissimilar to Mr Davis, writing on the blackboard. I think it was actually a whiteboard. Mr Tickle waited a minute. Then he reached in through the window. His extraordinarily long arm went right up to the teacher, paused, and then tickled. The teacher jumped up in the air and turned around very quickly to see who was there. But there was nobody there. Mr Tickle grinned, a mischievous grin. He waited another minute and then he tickled the teacher again. This time he kept on tickling until soon the teacher was laughing out loud and saying, "Stop it, stop it! Oh, stop it!" over and over again. All the children were laughing too. It's such a funny sight. There was a terrible pandemonium. Eventually, Mr Tickle thought he'd had enough fun, so he gave the teacher one more tickle for luck and then quietly brought his arm back through the open window. Chuckling to himself, he jumped down and left the poor teacher to explain what that was all about. Then Mr Tickle went into town. And what a day Mr Tickle had. He tickled the policeman on traffic duty. It caused an enormous traffic jam. He tickled the greengrocer just as he was piling apples ready in the shop window. He fell over backwards and the apples rolled out of the shop. At the railway station, the guard was about to wave his flag for the train to leave. As he lifted his arm in the air, Mr Tickle tickled him. And every time he tried to wave his flag, Mr Tickle tickled him until the train was 10 minutes late leaving the station, and all the passengers were furious. That day, Mr Tickle tickled everybody. He tickled the doctor. He tickled the butcher. He even tickled old Mr Stamp the postman, who dropped all his letters into a puddle. Oh, goodness me. Then Mr Tickle went home, sitting in his armchair in his small house at the other side of the wood. He laughed and laughed every time he thought about all the people he had tickled. So, if you are in any way ticklish, beware of Mr Tickle and those extraordinarily long arms. Just think, perhaps he's somewhere about at this very moment, while you're reading his book. Oh, goodness, he's not under my desk, is he? Perhaps that extraordinarily long arm of his was already creeping up to the door of this room. Perhaps it's opening the door now. Perhaps it's coming into the room. Perhaps before you know what's happening, you will be well and truly... What was that? Tickled. I hope you enjoyed Mr Tickle. Happy World Book Day.